What is going on with Stellar Lumens? Well, we have a new voting schedule for the Smart Contract Upgrade Protocol 20, as well as a Q3 report that is good, but not great. Thank you for tuning back in to DHN Crypto. My name is Wade Teamer. If you enjoy the events and the fundamental updates on this crypto space that drive the needle forward, that's my focus on this channel. If that interests you, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Now, this Protocol 20 is an urgent matter. We need to jump right into it. The new schedule is as follows. So, February 2nd, Core 20.2 release candidate. February 6th, Testnet Reset Plus upgrade. February 9th, Core 20.2 stable release. But the date that we need to know about is February 20th. This is the target vote for Protocol 20. And if everything goes through, which we can assume that it will, then smart contracts will hit the Stellar network. The scheduled rollout for the phases are Phase 0, ensuring network stability. Phase 1, deploy and monitor. This is when smart contracts will begin to roll out. Phase 2, we enter user-ready mainnet. Now, they describe Phase 2 as being the most important stage here. They say Phase 2 marks the development of a user-ready mainnet where anyone can deploy and interact with smart contracts. In this phase, the network will be ready for more extensive smart contract utilization, so it's the practical beginning of smart contracts on the Stellar network. The network will match the average DeFi transactions for many other blockchains. Users will be free to take advantage of all new smart contract functionality integrated into Stellar apps, along with all the payment index functionalities that they currently offer. So, upon approval of this vote on February 20th, we will begin to enter these phases. And once we get to Phase 2, it'll be full smart contract Stellar from that moment forward. Now, I haven't read anywhere that gives us like a timeline, specific dates for the phases themselves. So we can just go ahead and just give them the rest of 2024. All right. It's where we going. You know what I'm saying? And then another thing too, as these smart contracts begin to hit the Stellar network and these applications, because remember, Soroban has been testing for a number of months. As a matter of fact, in this same report that you can find on stellar.org, there was, I believe, 40 applications that have already been developed that will be ready to enter the Stellar network as we get to these phases. So that's going to bring in added activity, and that's always good for the network. And on top of that, these smart contracts will be matriculated into Stellar's existing applications. Now, I was able to find a couple winners from a recent Soroban funding, little program, little grant that they had. The first Soroban winner, name of their application is called Divify. Now, this one is an expense manager, and I'm just going to let him show you exactly what it can do.
Those groups. We can also see the activity, so whether any of our friends created any new groups or settled some payments, and also our profile. Here we can customize the name, our profile picture, the address. So here we can change from the dog to a lion or a monkey. So we actually stick with the dog. We can also change our wallet, so we can change our public and secret key, and then also generate new keys with the Stellar iOS SDK, and just see our normal data. Now, let's look at the Boston trip. Now here, there's a lot of information to look at. So we can see all the members that are part of this group. So we can add new members using the internal user ID, but also add new expenses. So if we try and add a new expense, we can see that there's a name for the expense and the amount paid. All the amounts are in US dollars and then converted to Stellar Lumens internally. So you don't have to worry about the right conversion rate. So now we can see that we can settle our payments.
So it reminds me of the string of personal finance apps that we've seen get popular over the last few years. And that coming to Web3, I haven't seen it in many places. So I'm very interested to see that hit the network. And then we have another one called Soro Shark. Now, the name threw me off at first too, but we're talking about tokenized stocks here, tokenized equity. Check it out.
Soroban provide an ecosystem on Soroban chain, allowing entrepreneurs to raise fundings from big or small investors in exchange of their equity, enables them to tokenize their equity on the Stellar network using Soroban. These tokens could later be traded and reflect the ownership of the company. This will directly link the value of token to the valuation of the company. So let's say I have a startup and I want to get some funding. So I can give up my 20% of the equity and convert it into the tokens and sell these tokens, which other investors can buy and which will help me to raise funding.
So we already know tokenization is the name of the game right now, and Stellar already has relationships with the likes of Franklin Templeton. They've already tokenized investment products. As a matter of fact, it's one of the largest tokenized investment products on the market right now. Something else that all of this had me thinking is, I know we don't hear a lot about Stellar Lumens, guys, and I think that's a good thing because it shows that they're focused on one particular subject. And that's good if you're trying to build a business that lasts. Now let's look at this Q3 report, guys. Like I said, it's good, but it's not great. Total number of accounts from 2022 to 2023, we increased by 5%. So we were at 7.4 million at the end of 2022, 7.8 million at the end of 2023. That's an all right increase. This represents new XLM holders, maybe new applications that are holding Stellar, making use of Stellar. It could come from a number of places. There are block explorers that you can use to figure that out if you would like to. Now, this number is a little bit better. I actually had it over here. Total payments. We're up 98.5% from 2022. We actually doubled our number from 46.5 million to 92.3 million. Now, again, this references the point I just made about Stellar focusing in on what they were made to do. A 98% increase in total payments shows us that in 2023, even though we didn't hear that much from Stellar, Meridian, we got a little attention for Meridian. Idris Elba came through. That was nice, but we didn't hear that much. These numbers are showing that the work was still being done. Now, here's where things are going to get a little bit, a little bit bad. Average DEX volume, we're down 27.8% when it comes to that. Now, this is decentralized exchange volume within the Stellar network. And that would explain that that's just interest. That just shows trader interest, investor interest. It went down. And that was mainly because we didn't hear from y'all, Stellar. All right. We weren't hearing anything. So that would explain that. And also, any decentralized exchanges on Stellar weren't getting exposure. That's reflected in this number as well. And this one here, total operations down 34.5% from 2022. Now, they describe this as the decrease being attributed to a drop in non-payment related activity this quarter. So non-payment related activity, that obviously implies NFTs, digital assets, things like that, which aren't Stellar's strong suit. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. It does show, though, weak points in the network, in my opinion, right? Let's take a look at these numbers again. We had a 5% increase in total accounts, yet we lost 27% in decentralized exchange volume. If Stellar had a stronger campaign around decentralized exchanges, we probably would have had an increase in total accounts and that number wouldn't have been in the negative. But on the other hand, the increase in total payments to 98.5% shows that relationships like MoneyGram and Circle are the ones that are bringing in the real money. So if you're running strategy at Stellar, take that nugget if you want. I don't know that much. I've only been in business for myself for like 4 years, but that's just something that stood out to me, guys. So with that, the Q3 report, it's good, but it's not great. It shows where we can improve, though. Now, alongside that information in this report, which you can find on stellar.org, they had some ecosystem updates that stood out to me as well. We have BitNovo that just launched a new on and off ramp using Stellar and USDC. And then we have the growth of MoneyGram Access. Now, MoneyGram Access, this is essentially MoneyGram's way of setting up on and off ramps using Stellar wallets in multiple locations around the world. As a matter of fact, they have 180 cash out locations where you can withdraw your USDC or your Stellar for whichever currency you need, and 42 cash in locations. I was able to find a list of the cash out locations, and they're in some very pretty interesting spots. Now, we have Bhutan, which I wrote that down because Ripple was all over Bhutan last year. So I don't know what happened with that. But then we have the Central African Republic. Now, if you don't know, they're currently in a legal tender debate. That's what I would call it, right? Because coming out of 2022, they had followed suit with El Salvador, and they were aiming to make Bitcoin and a couple other currencies legal tender. Then in March of last year, they quickly changed their tone, right? Probably because the main government over there did ban crypto. On the flip side, another location that they have listed is Nigeria, who just lifted their ban on crypto. So, very interesting locations. And then you got your financial hotspots: France, Hong Kong, Singapore, India. You want to be there. Italy, Japan could fall into that. Kazakhstan, I listed Kazakhstan because in 2022 and 2023, they did a lot of digital asset related activities. They worked on CBDCs. They did work with Binance. They Bitcoin mining. They bolstered their market for Bitcoin mining. So Kazakhstan is probably looking to become another epicenter. Maybe not the biggest, but. And then we have a couple other names here: Mexico, Ukraine, and Israel. Now, I mention these places because, well, we are aware of what's going on in these locations. And if you just read through any of Stellar's documentation, their 4 use cases line up with aiding refugees in environments like this. So, depending on how you feel about that, the positioning of these MoneyGram access points, they're strategic. There's the word for it. And then lastly, we got the United Arab Emirates, which is the digital asset hub of that side of the world. They're really the global hub based on what they pulled off in 2023. And another thing to consider with all of this, guys, is the promotion of Stellar ecosystem wallets. That's bringing more brand recognition to the network in general. And there are more wallets that can be added to it. We just covered how Avalanche and Fawn Bank, they're partnering to set up on and off ramps in Africa. Fawn Bank is already working with Stellar Lumens and USDC. And then we got AirTM, which their market is Latin America, and Juno, which is another wallet. Those are just a couple names, but Stellar has 34 wallets and on and off ramps altogether that have yet to be integrated into their relationship with MoneyGram. So I'm okay with not hearing from Stellar as often as, other people may make it seem. But that to me shows that they are focused. And I like a company that is focused on what they're doing. If I'm going to put my money into a company, I want that company to be focused on it. I don't want them to have any moon boy fantasies or, any of that crazy nonsense. I'm sorry, I saw a comment earlier. I'm not about to let that get to me. With that, that's the update. Let me know what you think down in the comments, guys. As always, you know what I want you to do. If you're looking for some crypto, XLM maybe, check out Uphold. That's the one that I'm using. If you need a hardware wallet to store it on, SafePal. That's the one that I'm using. Links to both of those will be in the description. With that, you know what I want you to do. Have a great weekend. Have a prosperous weekend. And while you out there enjoying yourself, remember, if that money is digital, so is the hustle.